Okay, well, we're at the 3:30 mark. Um, so what I'm going to do is I've got just a few opening remarks prepared so that we can buy some people time to keep getting signed in. I'm really excited. We've got a really great panel here with us today. We've got people from NASA, from Dow, Shell, the University of Houston. So we've got at least a really great panel that can provide a lot of advice and perspective for your questions. I'm really excited that we had a lot of submitted questions, and so we've got a lot to get us started after we do some panelist introductions. But definitely what you can do throughout the call is submit questions through our chat feature, and then that way we can hopefully get to as many questions as possible. But also what I'm going to hope to do is any questions that we aren't able to cover in the meeting time, I'm going to find a way to get those questions answered for you and post it on our website or something like that. So we can talk a little bit more about that at the end of the call, or you can check out our website and monitor us on social media just to see where we're going to post answers to questions that we didn't get to today on the call. So please don't hesitate to put your questions in there, even if we are getting a lot of questions, because we want to try to find a way to get you answers and advice and perspective. So thank you so much. Also, the chat goes directly to me. So like I said, just please make sure that any questions that you have, or if you have any issues that I might be able to address on the call, please let me know. What you'll be seeing throughout the call is some links being posted. So we've got a great panel today, and one of our students put together a program. So this program link that you'll see in the chat, this will take you to the program where you can see a brief bio on most of our panelists. That way, as they're talking and providing their perspective, you can take a look at some of their background just to get a little bit more familiar with them, since it may be hard to remember what they said in their brief introduction. So please feel free to go and download that program right now in the link that's in the chat. Also, it's just time for a little bit of a plug. I'm really proud of my high school students that I mentor. They've been working really hard on creating Girls in STEM magazines. They call it STEM Savvy. And so there's a link in the chat right now too, if you'd like to go to our website and download the magazines that we've developed for free. Even our first issue has been translated into Chinese and Spanish. So we highly encourage everyone to take a look at those magazines, share them with your friends, your family, with your teammates. And also, if you have any feedback for us on some things that you'd like to see more of in the magazine, we gear these magazines towards junior high age, since they are coming into FRC age and high school and trying to figure out what they want to do as their career. So any feedback that you have for us, we would really love to hear it to help make our magazines better. A little bit about the girls that I mentor. So I'm a mentor for Pearadox in Pearland, Texas, just a little south of Houston. And we had some girls on our team create a club to be focused on girls in STEM initiatives specifically, and they call themselves the Gearbox Girls. So even though we are a part of Pearadox, the FRC team, the links that you see are coming from our Gearbox Girls website. And so we focus on serving the needs of girls in STEM by setting up events like this one. And you may have heard that we usually do this as a face-to-face event. We've been doing it for the last 3 years, and we host it at competitions that we attend. But due to social distancing guidance and our competition getting suspended, I'm really happy that we had such a great response and feedback to still hosting this event as a panel webinar. So thank you all so much for being here today, and we're really excited to launch into our questions. So with that being said, before we get into our panelist introductions, I just wanted to introduce a little bit of myself. My name is Kara Boyer, and I'm a mechanical engineer. I graduated from Lamar University. It's in Beaumont, Texas. And I actually am a mechanical integrity engineer for an oil and gas consulting firm called Pinnacle ART in Pasadena, Texas. I found my love for STEM on a first robotics team in high school called the Robotics. And after getting so much out of the program, I decided I wanted to become a mentor myself. So I've mentored a couple of different teams, but right now I'm on the Pearadox robotics team. I'm a technical mentor serving as our drivetrain mentor, but also on the non-technical side, I do a lot with chairmans, our marketing team and business team, and of course supporting girls initiatives such as this one. So without further ado, maybe Becca, would you be okay with starting us off with your introduction?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Becca Nadoff. I'm also a mentor on Pearadox. I graduated from the University of Illinois. It's in central Illinois. I studied civil engineering, so slightly different than anything that we do in robotics. But so I work for Shell as a civil engineer at their plant in Deer Park. And I do a lot of maintenance work, so I help to do inspections and repair strategies and design fixes. So for robotics, even though I knew as a very young age that I wanted to be a civil engineer, I still was on first robotics team throughout all of high school. I was captain for 2 years. I did everything from making parts, so kind of the manufacturing piece, to all of the non-technical, chairman's business, marketing, all of that fun stuff. And I had a really great time doing it. I think it really helped me as a person, no matter what sort of field I went into. I have some friends who went into the food industry, some other friends who went into nothing technical at all, and they still gained a lot from being in first. So I just kind of kept up with that ever since I graduated high school. I kept mentoring teams and just wanting to give back because I know how much it can help you grow as a person.
Great. Thank you so much, Becca. Emmy, would you like to introduce yourself next? We might give Emmy just a few more minutes. Sarosh, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, I'm Sarosh. I went to school at the University of Texas at Austin, and then I majored in mechanical engineering and anthropology, which I realize are kind of very different subject areas, but I had a lot of fun doing both of them. And currently I work at NASA as a human systems engineer.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sarosh. I appreciate that. Stephanie, if you're on the line, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Hear me?
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm Stephanie. I studied mechanical engineering at Johns Hopkins University, and I work as a mechanical design engineer.
Oh, awesome. And just for clarification, do you currently work at NASA?
I work for Jacobs, a NASA contractor.
Jacob, okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. Gothard, if you're on the line, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Hi, I'm Goddard Jansen, and I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering at Cal Poly in California, and systems engineering master's later at UCLA. And then I joined the Air Force for a long career, and I was designing and helping put space systems in orbit for the Air Force. Then I joined contractors to support NASA here in Houston, and have enjoyed working with the Space Shuttle program from beginning to end. Now work on the International Space Station and look forward to the Artemis program. And that's what I am.
Great, thank you so much. Lauren H., would you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lauren Heath. I graduated from Texas A&M University with a degree in biomedical engineering. I've been in the medical device world for the last 10 years, but for almost a year now, I've been working at NASA as a human systems integrator on the Gateway program. And I also in the outreach chair for the Women Excelling in Life and Leadership resource group at NASA. So that's how I virtually met a lot of the ladies on here, and we got plugged in with Kara's team in the Pearadox group. So we're happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you. Ainsley, if you're on, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure thing. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ansley Browns, and I work at NASA as well at the Johnson Space Center. I'm in the International Space Station Program Office. I'm a payload facility integrator, so I help to make sure that the research facilities that astronauts use on board the space station are in good working order, and that involves, the simplest way to put it is getting people to talk to each other across the agency. I graduated from Birmingham Southern College. It's a small liberal arts school in Birmingham, Alabama, with a degree in math and a minor in physics. A little bit different from some of the engineering folks on the call. And I have wanted to work at NASA since I was little, so I feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity, and look forward to sharing with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Lauren B., if you could introduce yourself next.
Hi, I'm Lauren Bacallier. My degree is in industrial engineering from Purdue University, and I was a member of the first robotics team, Cyber Blue 234. That's out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I really enjoyed being on a robotics team in high school, and it exposed me to what a career in engineering is like. And so I started working at NASA after I graduated from college as a flight controller for the Space Shuttle program. And I'm still working in flight operations, and now I'm in a integration managerial type business role now for the Flight Operations Directorate. And I represent us in all the work we do. So flight control, training the crew, developing all of our flight rules, our plans for the Orion program. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We're so happy to have you. Jessie, do you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure. My name is Jessie. I graduated from Kettering University with a degree in mechanical engineering and a degree in engineering physics. I work as a contractor for NASA Johnson Space Center, working on the Viper rover project. And I've been involved in robotics for a very long time. Grew up in the Clear Lake area, started competing in FLL back in elementary school, continued on through middle school, competed in 118 Robotics as a high school, went to college, started mentoring a team up in the Dallas area where I had an internship, and now I'm back with Robotics.
Awesome. We're glad to have you back in the area for sure. Thanks, Jessie. Irene, if you're online, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be amongst all of these awesome peers. A lot of them also support the International Space Station. I'm a flight planning engineer as a subcontractor at NASA. The name of my subcontracting organization is Summit Technologies and Solutions Incorporated. Mouthful, but in other words, part of the NASA family. I have no experience in FIRST, but I'm always rah, rah, rah robotics. I received my Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering and a Master's in Aeronautical Science. My bachelor's was from the University of California, San Diego, California girl here all the way through. And my master's I got from Embry-Riddle. They actually have a satellite campus out here in Houston. So I was happy to do a blended method of in-person classes and online. So there's multiple ways you could get your degree in aerospace. And how I got involved in STEM. I didn't always know I wanted to do aerospace, but I always had encouragement from teachers that are like, ooh, you got that knack for math. Have you considered something at STEM? I'm like, what's rocket science? Let's check this out. So that's me.
And that's so awesome. Okay, thank you, Irene. Kate, if you're on the line, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Kate Gunderson, and I work as a mechanical and aerospace engineer at NASA's Aircraft Operations Division. This is where we have all the aircraft like that the astronauts train in or that we use to fly airborne science missions. And I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. And then I did my master's in aerospace engineering at Georgia Tech. And I got interested in engineering and STEM at a young age when I realized all the cool things NASA was doing. And so I looked online when I was applying to colleges at what kind of degrees flight controllers had, because I really wanted to be a flight controller at the time. And so a lot of them are engineers, and so that's why I chose that field. So I'm happy to be here as well, like everybody else, and I look forward to talking to you guys.
Great, thank you so much. If anyone's looking for an inspiring person to follow on Instagram, it's Kate, so check her out. Thanks, Kate. Dr. Shilpa, if you're on the line, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Shilpa Griye, and I have a background which is quite different from all of you. I have a bachelor's in microbiology and biochemistry, master's in biochemistry. All of this, I obtained all of this in India from University of Bombay. When I was doing my master's, I knew that I wanted to come to the US and pursue a PhD in cancer research. So I came to Houston and I went to University of Texas Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences and MD Anderson Cancer Center and obtained my PhD in immunology from there. And while I was doing my PhD, I had my older daughter and I didn't want to continue working in the lab. So I was trying to look for alternate careers, keeping in mind that I always wanted to pursue, keep science and pursue science. And fortunately, I came across an attorney who was looking for a technical advisor in his law firm. I didn't know anything about patent law at that time. I joined his firm just to understand and learn what patent law entails. And after working with him for 4.5 years, I went to law school. I obtained my law degree, and I'm working as a patent attorney. Currently, I'm working at University of Houston. I'm in the Dean's Office at Cullen College of Engineering. And my love for STEM comes from my childhood days. My dad was a physician, so that's where my love for biology comes from. I used to help him in summer vacation. I used to help him in his clinic. And the second person who inspired me to go into STEM career was my teacher from 7th grade. He instilled the love of science in me. So hello, everyone, and I'm good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Such an inspiring resume. Thank you. Dr. Chang, if you are on the line, would you mind introducing yourself next?
There we go. Hi, I'm Cristiano Chang. I am an instructional professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Houston, where I also got my bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree. So I finished up my PhD in 2013. So I guess this is year 6 of me being full-time faculty here. I was not involved in FIRST Robotics. However, we do have a lot of students who were. And I also am involved through our design program at the University of Houston with helping a lot of teams that compete at the university level. So for example, FSAE, where they build a race car, AIAA, where they build rockets, and also occasionally a lunar water drilling machine every once in a while as well. I suppose you could say I got interested in STEM fields because watching my dad fix things around the house, it was kind of amazing that any of this stuff ever works. So just trying to figure out how they work and wanting to know how you can make them better was just something that kind of worked out with my skill set. So happy to be here, everyone.
Great, thank you so much. We're happy to have you. I think I saw Laura Hood on the line. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself? I have the pleasure of working with both Becca and Laura on our robotics team.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, so I'm Laura Hood. I'm a mentor with Pearadox. I concentrate on scouting and strategy and also electrical subsystems. Let's see, I'm a retired engineer from NASA. I worked on the Orion spacecraft end-to-end testing. And I'm currently doing part-time work with Jacobs for the new Gateway program for NASA. Let's see, I'm an electrical engineer. I graduated from the University of Houston with a bachelor's and a master's. And I'm happy to be here listening to all these wonderful people talking today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Dana, if you could introduce yourself next if you're on the line.
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Darcy. I I graduated from Northern Illinois University with my industrial engineering degree, bachelor's degree, and I also have my master's degree in industrial management. My field is pretty much, I started off at Caterpillar Tractor Company, so went through different areas within manufacturing, environmental health and safety, operations, supply chain logistics, project management, Six Sigma Black Belt. And then I came on to Dow Chemical, where I currently am. And within Dow Chemical, I've been environmental health and safety leader, as well as now currently operations leader of a chemical process plant. As far as FIRST Robotics, I have not had any opportunity to work with the team yet. I do plan on it. Currently, I'm also an adjunct instructor at Brazosport College, teaching some of the up-and-coming team members that's going to hopefully work at Dow, operations management, process tech management, and things of that nature, and environmental health and safety. The reason why I picked STEM, I actually went to a career, went to a college career fair to understand what type of career I wanted to get into. And at the time, I didn't know, being a first generation college student or soon to be graduate. So I've talked to a lot of the counselors, and because they said, I said, what would be interesting? Industrial engineering was the field that they said would be really good, engineering at all, because it's one of the challenges that I like. At first, they didn't have a lot of female engineers. So they said, that's a great field to get in. So I like a challenge, and I wanted to come in and come onto the challenge, and been loving it ever since.
That's so great, Dana. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
So I think we missed Emmy. There might have been a little bit of technical difficulties, but Emmy, if you are on the line and would like to introduce yourself next, do you mind going ahead? Okay, Emmy might still be having some. Oh, I can hear you.
Oh, could you hear any of that before?
I could not. I'm sorry.
Okay, my name is Emmy. I am a University of Iowa graduate. I graduated last May with my degree in chemical engineering. I currently work for Jacobs Technology as a contractor for NASA, JSC, as an environmental control and life support systems project engineer. And I had my first introduction to engineering through a Project Lead the Way engineering course. And our instructor for that class was really great, and he is very adamant about me going into maybe STEM field because I seem to really enjoy it and everything. So that's kind of how I got into STEM. So thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Emmy. If any other panelists have joined since our introduction, if you could send me a message in the chat so I can make you a co-host, please do that. But before we get into answering questions, we have one more person. Jessica, if you don't mind giving us an introduction to yourself, and I think you have a special message for our Texas participants on the line.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I just found out about this opportunity yesterday, so I'm super excited to be online to share the high school aerospace scholars with you. So a little bit about me. I've been working at the Johnson Space Center for give or take 29 years. And I have a little bit different of a background. It's more it was in the administrative side, and then I was managing the Freedom of Information Act office for 9 years, and that was really fun. And then I got asked to come and work on the High School Aerospace Scholars Program. And let me tell you, this program is like no other program out there. And we have the brightest students from across the state of Texas that are in this program. And many of those students are in FIRST Robotics. And so like Dana just mentioned earlier about needing more girls in STEM, that's exactly why I was so excited to jump in on this call, because we are looking for those girls. We we're looking for those next world changers, and they are the Artemis generation. And so I wanted to share the High School Aerospace Scholars with you, which is a free NASA program. So let me say that really slowly again. Free NASA program. And it's only for students in high school, and it's only for juniors. So for some of you on the line, you may be in 9th or 10th grade, but you can mark your calendars for the year that you're a junior. And for the students who are already a junior this year or a senior, there's other opportunities available, like internships and pathways programs, Artemis challenges, things like that. So we have something for everyone. And so just to back up a little bit, I am in the Office of STEM Engagement. So that way you know how to find me. But I do have a presentation, Kara. I didn't know if you were able to, did you want me to share that online, or did you just want me to talk it through? I wasn't sure what you preferred.
I think I set up the permissions, unfortunately, so no one could share their screen, just to make sure we didn't have any disruptions. But if there's anything that you wanted to talk through, and if you want me to share it, I can do that, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, then I'll just I'll just talk from the charts really quickly. So for the students who are online, like I said, this is a program just for the Texas students who are U.S. citizens and who can commit to a 1-year commitment with NASA. And so there's 2 parts to the program. The first part is an online course. It's 16 weeks. There's 4 modules in the course. They're activities related to space exploration, science, technology, and aeronautics. There's also design challenges, 3D drawings, poster designs, and virtual chats with NASA engineers and scientists. So it's a 16-week program. There's 4 modules. There's 4 projects within each module. Each month, there's, like I said, a chat with the NASA scientist or engineer. So that's the first part of the program. That's the online part. After the online part, then there's an on-site residential opportunity, and that means you get invited to NASA for 6 days, all expenses paid. It's a week away from your parents, a week away from your parents from you. So it's a win-win for everybody. But it's really neat because this is where you get to come on site to the Johnson Space Center. You're mentored by a scientist or engineer for the week. We also have different team projects and briefings. We'll bring in other subject matter experts from Orion, from Gateway, from all the different organizations on site. And you will be planning a mission to Mars. You will work in a team of 10 to 11 students, and you'll have several challenges. We'll have a night of rocket launches. You'll design a rover. There's so many things that you will do in 6 days. You will work harder than almost everybody working at NASA. And it's just really an amazing opportunity for each of you students that are interested in STEM and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So all week long, you'll be working on your project, and on one of the last days, you will have a preliminary design review. And that's where you're gonna share your project as a team in front of a panel of NASA experts. And in my opinion, that is the day where the magic really happens, and you see just the students are just so amazing. Their presentation skills are off the charts, and the students in FIRST Robotics are exactly the students that we want to participate in this program.
Hey, Jessica, it might be helpful if you had a link for these other students to find out more.
I have a presentation, and I'll ask Kara to send it to each of you, and all the information and the link is in there as well. Thank you. And then, of course, once you come on site, you'll also get to visit some of the JSC facilities where the astronauts train. So most importantly, we only accept applications in September, and we accept applications for about 5 weeks. So September 2020 through October, mid-October is when you can submit your application. The application is very easy. It's a very simple website. It's nasa.gov/HAS, H-A-S. And you will submit a 300-word essay we will require a teacher recommendation letter and then a counselor guidance form. That's it. So it's really just writing a letter that tells NASA who you are, why you love STEM, why you want to be part of NASA. You share the extracurricular activities you're involved in with school. Basically, we just want to know who you are. That letter is going to be shared with your state legislator. So make it the best letter that just tells us who you are, why you want to be part of NASA, why you want to lead in STEM, and just know that your state legislators, they help to pay for this program, and they want you to participate here with the Johnson Space Center and NASA. And we are, this program, Haas, is a stepping stone. You start off with Haas, then the following summer you can apply for an internship. And there's several internships at several of the 10 NASA centers that you can apply for. So it's a stepping stone, it's the first part. So we would love to have the first robotics students participate in this. And so when I send out the presentation, there's also an email box that if you have any questions, you or your parents can respond to the email box, and we'll respond back to you. And also lastly, so that everybody here on the line knows, there's also an opportunity for Texas teachers to participate as technical reviewers and also as the summer counselors. So it's an opportunity for students, it's an opportunity for teachers, it's an opportunity for each of you on the line. I've got all your names now to come and mentor the students in the program. So if you have any questions, I'm available, and Kara can share my phone number and my email. I'd be happy to answer the questions. So I hope to have some of you in our program in the future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jessica, for that information. I wasn't a part of the program myself as a youth, but several of the students that I mentor on the robotics team have participated in that program. And when you say it's intense, that is exactly what I heard, but they absolutely loved it, and it was a great opportunity. So thank you very much. And I would second the recommendation for everyone to explore that. And if you send me that information, I can put it in our chat to everyone, even while we're on the call. So thank you so much, Jessica.
Bye. Have a great day, people. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's get into our submitted questions. We had a lot of different questions in different categories. We've got questions about college, internships and career, how you got interested in STEM. But I think let's maybe start off with a couple of college questions, since we have a couple of those and we've been talking about our backgrounds. So maybe Goddard, if you're okay with starting off with helping answer a question we received, that is, what kind of education do you need to become an engineer?
Well, the way I answered that was, what is your end goal if you want to be a chemical engineer, besides the basic courses you take in college? If you take additional courses that would end up being enabling you to become a chemical engineer, that'd be great. If you want to get into a computer engineering, you would aim towards computer courses and artificial intelligence type things. But it's the end goal in mind that would help you gauge the curriculum that you want.
Yes, thank you. And I think another question that we received too along similar lines was, what types of engineering fields are there? And I heard you touch on a couple of those. Are there any other ones that you'd like to highlight just in regards to this question about what it takes to become an engineer, and maybe what types of engineering fields are there?
Well, at NASA, you can hardly name a type of engineering that we don't use. You can have geologist, food preparation, safety, management engineering. There's a host of engineering skills that are needed. If we want to go to the moon, what do you think would be needed? You'd have to have food, you have to have habitation, environmental control, some sort of computer safety. There is a host of things, and I'll be happy to send you the list of engineering skills that are needed at NASA, and there is a long, long list.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. One other question we had in related to college, and Sarosh, if you are on the line and would like to answer this question next, but speaking of college, one of our questions was, what is something that motivated you to continue through the hardships of college? Maybe something that motivated you to continue through the hardships of STEM education specifically. Would you like to provide some advice on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there were two main things that got me through the rigor of a STEM education college career. One thing was probably the people that were around. We had, at least at UT, and I think at most colleges, we generally have a really good group of women in engineering organizations or groups that will get together. And so they really, really helped me throughout the entire process. And also just communicating with other people and doing lab work and seeing the bigger picture in the projects that we did and not just the coursework was huge. And then the second thing that really helped was having a very forward vision of it. So when I was in 8th grade, my Halloween costume was an astronaut. So I always knew I wanted to end up at NASA. I didn't think I ever would, but I did, thankfully. But that was another thing that sort of got me through, was having that big picture, forward thinking, this is where I want to be, so that this is what I have to do to get there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kate, did you have something you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, I had a similar story where I kind of had that forward vision of what I wanted to be when I grew up, but at the same time, something that really helped me were my internships. My college required us to do internships, and that kind of gave me a break from the difficulty of college classes, while also showing me that I was actually, although the classes might not be easy for me, I could see that I was actually doing a good job on my internships and that I could add value to the company. And that really helped show me that I could actually be an engineer, if I ever had an imposter syndrome or something like that. It really helped me with that. So that's what I would add.
Thank you so much, Kate. Your audio got a little scratchy there, but just to reiterate, because I think you made some really good points. I think Kate was saying that her internships really helped her push through the hard college classes and provided a little bit of that break, so you're not just plowing straight through. So thank you so much for that, Kate. Irene, did you have something else that you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely. So Dr. Chang had mentioned AIAA. That is the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I love that professional organization. They definitely helped me carry through. I actually failed physics not once, not twice, but 3 times. I had an academic counselor like, Irene, you sure you really want to do aerospace engineering? Clearly you're not doing so great in these classes. But it was finding my tribe in groups like AIAA, and Sharosh also had mentioned other women interest groups. I was also involved with the Society of Women Engineers. So I surrounded myself with people that weren't yes people. They're like, yeah. No, they kept me grounded. They accentuated the positive aspects of me. They're like, yes, you have traits that will make you a great aerospace engineer. Yes, physics may not be your thing, but we could help you out. We'll do study groups. Go seek out your resources. Just surround yourself with people that could point you to find strategies to make sure you succeed. Not only did I fail physics, here I am telling you guys, yes, I'm a math person. I failed math twice. I was on academic probation, but I kept on persevering in aerospace because I knew deep down inside, I just needed to find another strategy towards success. So in summary, find your tribe, join professional organizations, seek your resources to navigate through your college and the rest of your career.
Can I make a point here?
Yes, please.
One thing I've learned over the many years I've been alive is if you find a career path that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Find something you're passionate about and you'll just have a great time. I see too many people come to work and they just hate their job and they just feel like they're totally unfulfilled. So I encourage you, find something you love and you'll just never work a day in your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you both, Irene and Goddard.
Can I add something there?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So at the University of Houston in our Department of Mechanical Engineering, I'm actually also a faculty advisor. And what we do is we actually help students to navigate their degree plan. Our biggest goal is to make sure you know all the requirements to graduate. So we also help deal with a lot of students' problems, and the problems can be a whole gamut of things. Either we talked about academic probation, or you're just doing poorly in your classes, but you always have to answer the question of why are you doing poorly in your classes. And sometimes it's you don't know how to study, you have bad study habits, but there are also times when there are very serious life problems or things that should be your priority. School is not your priority at that time. So when things do come up in your life, it's okay to say sometimes that you need to put certain things at school on hold. Or if you need help, to reach out to your professors. We're not there to fail you as much as you want to believe. Our job really is there to make sure that you do pass and that you do master the things that we're asking you to do. And a lot of professors are really willing to go out of their way to help. But we just need to know that you're willing to do the work to hold up your end of the bargain, if you will. Like Irene said, find your tribe. Part of your tribe, part of the elders in that tribe are also your professors, your upperclassmen, and the other people in the student societies that she talked about. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And sometimes you can't do it alone. And that's something that maybe as you're becoming an adult and becoming into your own is realizing when you need to ask for help.
Thank you so much. We had a couple of other people express interest in this. Dr. Shilpa, if you would like to add on to that.
Hi, yes, definitely. So my career path has been quite different. When I came to the US to my PhD, I was 23 years old. And when I got into the PhD program, it was 4 years later. As soon as I got into the PhD program, I found out that I was pregnant. And I knew it was going to be a hard, uphill task to get my PhD. And this was just in my first year of PhD program. And I had an excellent mentor, my advisor at that time, who was also the vice president in MD Anderson. She had gone through the similar things in her career, and she gave me a good advice. She asked me to take as many classes as I could before my baby was born. And I took 7 classes in one semester. It was really very hard being pregnant, taking 7 classes, and my husband also doing his PhD at University of Houston. So we were both doing our pursuing PhD, but we supported each other through it. I never gave up on my dream because I was very passionate about my dream. And the same thing happened when I went to law school. I had my second daughter, who was a toddler at that time. With 2 little kids, I went to law school again. I never gave up. I worked very hard. And so my advice to my daughters, both of whom are pursuing STEM careers, is that there is nothing you cannot accomplish if you have a goal in your mind and you work hard towards it. And one thing I always think about is if you love your work and if you enjoy it, you are already successful. So success for me is enjoying my work and loving what I do.
Thank you so much for that. And I think, Dana, you wanted to also add on to this question?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So similar to the other speakers on the line, so in industrial engineering for me, it was a challenge. Math and science were not my favorite subjects, right? They're great, I love them, but they didn't come easy for me. And so I had to try a little harder. I actually worked at a full-time job, putting myself through college. So I actually was a waitress at Olive Garden for the entire time that I was going through my bachelor's as well as my master's degree. And having to work 40, 50 hours a week, as well as go through an engineering program was very hard. And I needed to make sure that I was focused. So I used those counselors, the teachers' office hours, mentors, free mentorship that they provided, and studied really hard and, tried to do my balance with sleep, getting some good sleep as well with all of that going on. So I would say, if you have for me, the outcome was I'm able to have a job where I can go in many different, as I talked before, I did many different areas within manufacturing, not just operations or environmental health and safety, but you get a chance to get around in all the different areas and learn the business. So I'm grateful for going through with it and making an impact with engineering.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. That was great having so many different perspectives on that really critical question. Next, Lauren Heath, maybe if you could provide some insight on this question. This seems somewhat related, but slightly different. So we got a pretty lengthy question from one of our viewers. So she says, I keep hearing that women are disadvantaged in STEM. I've yet to experience in any of my math and science classes, math competitions and robotics competitions. If anything, women in STEM is promoted more than men in STEM and excelling in school in general. Should I be worried going into college and therefore further into the workforce?
Sure, yeah, I read this question and it almost made me happy to read it because that means that we've all done our jobs, which is promoting women in STEM, that you don't feel like you're at a disadvantage. You know, for me, my degree was biomedical engineering and it was fairly female dominated. A lot of the other engineerings were male dominated at the time, but I really think that that balance is shifting across all engineering. I can't say that I've had a personal experience where I felt like, you know, somebody was saying, well, you're not going to be as good as a male candidate in a certain role, and maybe other people have different experiences. But I think it's okay to go into things not having to feel like you're disadvantaged because of your gender. So I think you approach it with the skills that you have, the knowledge that you have, be confident in what you bring to your classwork and what you're going to bring to a future you know, organization as you're an employee. And I think that just means we've all worked really hard to make sure that women do feel accepted in engineering. So I guess that's probably personal opinion there, but I think there's been a big push for that, and I think that women have proven that they're great employees, that they're great students, and that just means you're all better prepared for it.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Andrew, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, just because the way the question is, I feel like it could be interpreted a couple different ways. And I imagine that it's something I hadn't thought about, but students may interpret messages different ways. I think oftentimes what the message is intended to be is that women are at a disadvantage in STEM and that they maybe have some bias against them. But reading the question, I could definitely see where maybe some young girls may see that message out there and think that they're at a disadvantage in STEM because girls are inherently not as good at STEM or something like that. And so I think that that's a important thing to make sure that young girls understand, is that the message isn't that girls are disadvantaged in STEM, it's that they have to maybe fight uphill to get recognition. And so hopefully when you hear those messages, the message should come across as you should be, or those other things about being encouraged in STEM, or women in STEM being promoted, is to help encourage them to fight through any of those uphill battles they have to go through, not that they are any worse at the STEM.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And it looks like Dana, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, so for me, when I think about, you know, just as I said before, going into, it was a challenge for me, I wanted to make an impact to go into engineering because of the fact that it was not a lot of women. It was, for me, a way to pave the way, right? To make a change down the line and see that change come to fruition. And as we continue to have more women in STEM. So right now I represent DOW and our WIN, so Women's Inclusion Network. And so we are still making a lot of changes now within DOW, right, within operations. So right now for me, I just went into an operations role where I am one of the only women in operations. You don't see a lot of women as operations leaders, right? It's a small minority of us, but that's why I went into that role, to make a difference, to continue to pull other women into that field and show that we can do it and take away a lot of those biases that we can. So it's actually a joy for me to be able to see sometimes that change occur right in front of our faces. So.
Thank you so much, Dana. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I want to shift to a FIRST Robotics related question. So maybe Jesse, I don't know if you'd be okay with answering this question first. So we received a question that says, as a girl, I've always been afraid to join my robotics team in school since it is viewed as the boys' club. Is there any advice you could give for my situation?
Yeah, so something I've always told young women who have reservations joining a robotics team is typically what I've experienced is that the young women who have that fear are scared because they don't have friends necessarily in that group, and they don't want to make the leap to just join a group where they're sort of the only girl in the room. They look around, they don't know anyone, and it's a very scary prospect, and I totally understand that. So what I normally tell students is find a friend. It doesn't matter if it's a guy friend, a girlfriend, it doesn't matter. Just find a friend and try it. And even if you can't find a friend, try it anyways. We all know, we're in FRC, that build season is incredibly intense, and you come out of that with a lot of really great friendships. And if you don't manage to make friends during build season, you're absolutely going to make friends during competition season. And at the end of that, you're going to just have a great time. And at that point, you can easily drag in more people, and it just becomes a really good thing, but you have to kind of just make the leap, just have to try it.
Thank you so much, Desi. I also see Becca would like to add on to this. Becca?
Hey, yeah, I wanted to talk to this a little bit because on my high school robotics team, there were 30 kids, sometimes 35, and no more than 5 girls on the team at a time. And my current team that I work at right now has also like 50 people and 3 women engineers and then a woman admin. So kind of the same numbers, but on both teams, and especially in the high school team, right? So I think there's a difference between it being a boys club and a group of mostly boys, right? So a boys club can be kind of standoffish and not really welcoming to girls, but especially in my experience, right, I agree that, yeah, just if you find some friends, and you'll make those friends once you join the team because you're already very like-minded compared to the boys that are on the first team that you're looking to join. So you're gonna have some connections and you guys are gonna get along pretty well. I always thought it was funny because I didn't have a whole lot of girlfriends in high school because I spent so much time on the team that most of my friends were boys. And then I went to college and I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many girls who are like me. And now I have a lot of girlfriends. So definitely, I agree, give it a shot because I didn't really notice it. You know, I noticed the numbers, but other than that, I didn't really feel too put off, right? Sometimes the group of guys are gonna make guy jokes and sometimes talk about guy things. You'll just roll your eyes and say whatever, and you're like, oh my God, how mature. But, you know, it can be a really good experience still. And I think that will help a lot going into the workforce if you end up being on a team that has a lot more guys and girls because you'll already know how to connect with your team. And that can help you to kind of integrate into the team a little bit quicker. And I think there are a lot of very supportive guys out there that will help you and will welcome you to the team.
Thanks, Becca. Looks like Lauren B. Also, you'd like to add on to this question?
Yeah, so the question was about being reticent to join a FIRST Robotics team just because of the majority of the teams being a lot of guys. And what I would say about that is, first, whether it be FIRST Robotics teams, engineering school, male-dominated fields like engineering at NASA, we need all those teams need diversity, and they need people that think differently. And so you as a female coming into that team, they may need you and they don't even know that they need you. So for me, but they'll find out, right? For me, when I joined my FIRST Robotics team in high school, I wasn't necessarily skilled in manufacturing or making parts or engineering. I didn't know any engineers. I didn't have engineers in my family. I don't even think I really knew what engineering was, but there were things that I could contribute to the team right offhand that they really needed. So like coming up with new ideas about making things. Maybe I didn't know how to manufacture that thing, but myself and another team member came up with an innovative idea about driving our robot in particular. I won't get into the details, this is so long ago, but I definitely remember making that contribution to my team. And then there's so many things about FIRST Robotics that's not just working in a machine shop and building stuff. There's the design of like the outfits that the team wears and all the signage and the marketing and the websites. There's so much that goes into FIRST Robotics and in all aspects of engineering, even in the workplace, that's not just working equations or building things in a machine shop. And so I think it's important that there's a diverse group of people with different types of backgrounds to make a well-rounded team in any type of team.
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next question. This panel is focused mostly on STEM, but we actually had a non-technical question. So the question, maybe Sarosh, if you are interested in answering this question first for us, but the question is, I like being in the non-technical type of fields. And I think I sort of paraphrased with such as marketing, public speaking, advertising, and business. Do you have any advice for me?
Yeah, so I don't know if the question was like, I'm interested in this in addition to STEM, or I'm just interested in this, but there are plenty of engineering and STEM related companies that need people who are good at marketing, public speaking, advertising, and business. But aside from that, I actually majored in a technical field, engineering, and I also majored in a very non-technical field, anthropology. And that kind of saved me in school because I got to take classes that were so different from the hard like technical math and sciences that I was learning. And I highly encourage anybody, even if you're not interested, to take classes related to anything non-technical, because I think it really strengthens the technical side of things. And I think a lot of teams at NASA and at other engineering companies definitely need people who have skills outside of that, not just for brand new ideas, but also for communicating with other teams. It's really helpful for the entire program.
Thank you so much. And it looks like Lauren Heath, you'd like to add on to this question as well?
Yeah, just to kind of to add on to that too, you know, just because even if you decide to go like an engineering degree route, doesn't mean that that has like set your course for life. So when I was at A&M, I was interested in volunteering with the counseling program, which had nothing to do with my degree, but it was just an interest that I had. And they had an after hours hotline that was manned by student volunteers. So when the counseling center was closed, they had like a volunteer hotline, and we answered anything from academic concerns to like broke up with my boyfriend and I'm really upset to, you know, I have all these, you know, problems at home going on, I need help. And what was really interesting is I really just did that out of interest, and I didn't think it would lead to anything. But my first job out of school was working for a medical device company, answering the technical calls that came in from physicians, but also from patients and parents and things like that. So it allowed me to use kind of my experience on the hotline with also having a technical background. So don't feel like you have to be pigeonholed into just one thing. Your other outside interests could lead you in a totally different direction and could take your career in a bunch of different ways. So you don't have to feel like if you get an engineering degree, that's all you can ever do, or that you can't have other outside interests too.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Dr. Shilpa?
Hi. So currently at Cullen College of Engineering in the Dean's Office, my position is as Industrial Relations and Intellectual Property Manager. And what my job requires me to do is to reach out to companies and try to initiate collaborations with our researcher in the college. And so what I'm trying to do right now is look for interns in our engineering college, students with engineering, pursuing an engineering degree, try to train them to market technology, market the professor's research to the company. So basically the student was going to help me write a broad non-confidential disclosure of the research that the professor does. And what I do is I take that and present it to the company and try to initiate collaboration between the researcher and the company. So that is one of the areas that I try to encourage engineering students, because I've seen and I talk to students too, since I help them to get internships. I see that many of the students are focused. They think about going and working for an oil and gas company or a consulting firm, but there are various different avenues out there for students right now. For instance, pursuing a career in law, or a career in business, or doing something that I am doing currently in the dean's office. And all you need is like good understanding of the science, good writing skills, good public speaking ability. That's all you need for the job that I am trying to do at Cullen College of Engineering.
Well, thank you so much. And it looks like Dr. Chang would like to add on to that as well.
So I teach our senior design class, and what that means is they spend a year working on some sort of a design project. And something that I've been really getting on their case about recently is that engineers don't design things just to make things, right? We try to solve a problem, and inherently there's some sort of a value in that problem, whether it's a company that might want to sell this product, or there are people in some portion of the world that need this type of technology to save their lives at very low cost. And an engineer, you know, once they've developed their particular invention or their particular device, still has to be able to present their device to people and present that value and try to convince them that this is what you need. So there does need to be a bridge a lot of times between what we call the technical side of things to reach a broader audience, to make sure that they understand why we have done what we've done, and they can understand how this is going to impact their lives. So even if you don't end up getting an engineering background, we still need people who can communicate with engineers and understand what the engineers are saying, and then kind of translate that to a broader audience, whether that be customers or an executive board of a company or investors or something like that. So there is a large value of being able to understand some aspects of the technical engineering stuff, but also being able to describe that to somebody else.
Yeah, thank you all so much, because I think that also hit on another question we received earlier, which was what are some of the important skills engineers need? And I think a lot of you really touched on that. And going back to the original question too, it sounds like if you're interested in non-technical things, there's a lot you can do on your robotics team, for example. And then if you are interested in engineering-y stuff, as Dr. Chang said, please don't just ignore those non-technical skills, because they really not only make your team well-rounded, but they can make you well-rounded as well. So thank you all so much for that. Since we have a lot of people on the line from NASA, we had a question about what is it like to work at NASA? And I don't know, Irene, would you be okay with answering this question first?
Absolutely. Especially coming from a contractor perspective, there is civil servants who work directly for NASA and contractors. I've worked for two flavors of contractors. The really large company, at the time there's United Space Alliance, and my current company, Summit Technologies and Solutions Incorporated. Just knowing yourself, what do you like more? Do you like a really big company where you're just a small fish in a big pond, or do you want to be a big fish in a small pond? I like the latter. I like being in a big family-oriented thing. I mean, NASA family, it's great, but I love my individual company. They're very hands-off. They trust me. That's the big thing. This company trusts me. They know I will do a good job. They give me free reign within meaning to do my job. It's nothing like school. It's not check mark, I got an A in this class, I did this task. Oh yeah, no, you had to be independent, knowing how to work with others at the same time. It's a multidisciplinary thing. There is no typical day at NASA. There's always new challenges, new problems to solve, but just knowing, I know so-and-so from that organization that can help me solve this part of the puzzle. I could contribute to this piece. I need to coordinate with so-and-so. It is just different. Even though I have a lot of NASA colleagues here on the line, they certainly don't have a carbon copy day like mine. I could be talking to somebody within NASA. I could be talking to a Russian colleague, a European colleague, a Japanese colleague, because again, this is an international effort to support something that is 24/7, 365 kind of operations that span different types of systems. I'm contributing to many different aspects of flight planning. As a flight planning engineering, I'm bringing all the pieces together. What is required to make this mission successful? How can I make sure this schedule is compatible with all of our international partners and even at home here? So it's just an adventure every day at NASA, for me, at least as a contractor. I can't speak to what the civil servant experience is like, but I just hear great things from all my colleagues at NASA. So handing it over to any other NASA colleagues, I'm sure they could tell you the same thing. It's fun, it's different, it challenges you. You feel good because you're surrounded by a whole slew of other people that, like I said, the tribe. It's a NASA tribe. We uphold each other and do awesome stuff all the time.
Yes, thank you so much, Irene. I've definitely felt the NASA tribe. Y'all are for sure a tribe. And I think, Kate, it sounds like you would like to add on to this question as well.
Yeah, hopefully my microphone is working. My favorite thing about my job, and even when I interned at NASA, is that from my experience, the jobs I've had are very hands-on, and I love that because I'm a big picture person, and I like to see how what I'm doing impacts like the bigger company or just the bigger purpose. And so I really like that I can see, I can work on a project and see it from start to finish all the way until when we fly the thing I'm working on. So for me, it's really cool. I get to see that big picture start of the project to finish, and then it's very hands-on. I can go out to the airplane. I work at an aircraft hangar, so I can walk out of my office pretty much and go walk down the stairs and go onto an aircraft and take measurements or see if my design is going to work, and I really love that.
Thank you so much, Kate. Okay, we got sort of a specific question to first, and maybe Becca, if you're okay with answering this one first. So this one is, I hate coding, not dissing the subject itself, but all the girls on my team do it because the boys overtake us in the actual building of the robot. I want to join in that part, but I'm kind of afraid. What is your experience in a situation like mine?
I guess I'd be curious to know, kind of, it might depend on the culture, right? So if you're afraid because it's mostly boys and there's no other girls who are doing it, definitely try. I think part of the issue sometimes is, and I mean, I see this at work, we have some departments that there are almost zero females because nobody wants to be the first one to be in that group. But especially when it comes to building, and I think some of the other ladies here that have been in first can agree, sometimes, you know, you're just using a machines by yourself, right? So you can kind of almost get a task or be part of a team and everyone has tasks and you do them. So there's nothing that they should be able to like shun you away from. And I think part of it is most people are more comfortable being with like people. So you might almost feel yourself wanting to gravitate towards the coding because that's where the other girls are. But maybe if you're the first one to go into the build team, some of the other girls will join you, and then you can kind of build up that mix a little bit better. So I would say definitely give it a shot. Just try to go in and try to do everything that you can, volunteer for as much as you can in that sub-team, and kind of really make a place for yourself and almost make yourself someone that kind of has to be there because, you know, you're willing to do so much. So.
Okay, thank you, Becca. Let's see, I have a question here about your first internship, and Goddard, if you are still on the line, this was a question about how much does a first internship affect the type of position you will get in your first job? Do you need to find an internship that you love to also find a job you love? Let's see. I don't know if Goddard had to jump off. Is there anyone that would like to contribute to this question about, let's see, Lauren B, are you able to talk towards this question a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk about internships. So for me specifically, I worked at 2 different companies for my college internships, neither one of which I worked at full time once I graduated. And so just a little bit of background, I worked for GE, the part of GE that built locomotives. So I worked in a big factory that did welding and bent steel. I had to wear steel-toed boots to work, safety glasses, that kind of thing. And then I also worked for Eli Lilly and Company, which is a pharmaceutical manufacturing company. And I worked in the part of the plant that filled injectable drugs like insulin and things like that. And so now that I work at NASA, I don't work in manufacturing at all. I do work in the operations side. So there's a little bit of similarities there, but my point is get an internship. And even if it's something that you don't enjoy doing, at least it's, you won't enjoy doing that and you'll look for something different. I think it's important to get some type of work experience because you're going to learn so much about what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what kind of company culture is important to you. That was another big thing. There were certain companies that I worked for where I didn't thrive and certain companies where I felt like would be a good fit. And so when you start interviewing during your last part of your senior year, looking for full-time employment, you're going to understand what that work culture feels like and looks like and what's important to you in terms of what you value about a full-time position. And it'll help you make a good decision about where you want to see yourself long-term.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I think Stephanie, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, so I had a pretty similar experience. All the stuff I did during college was very academia based. I did research on campus and worked as a teaching assistant and assistants for professors and all of that. And what I ended up doing after college had literally nothing to do with it, aside from the fact that the connections I made during the summers and during all the work I did is what got me my first job. So I think just to add on to it a little bit, the connections you make are probably more important than any kind of field that you're working in for your internships.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie, for that perspective. And Dana, it looks like you'd like to add on to this as well.
Yeah, I'll say it from a couple different perspectives. So when I was going to school, as I said before, I didn't do an internship because I was working full time. And when I did try to get a job after school, it was a little harder, right? Because the hiring manager would look and people that had experience or had internships, they probably had a little bit more of the upper legs than I did. So it was a little harder for me because I did not have the experience, the hands-on experience. And then also, once I did get a job and I got that hands-on experience, when I went back to get my master's degree, it was much easier for me. Like my master's degree was easier than my bachelor's degree because I had the book knowledge to go with the hands-on experience. The other thing I would say as well as a hiring manager, so looking at that, if I have 5 different resumes and I have someone that actually has the experience and the understanding behind it, they may have an upper leg. But the other thing is the networking, right? So when you're doing that internship, even if you don't get that job at the company, you do most of the time, especially if you do a great job, you pretty much have the hiring manager will probably want you, and you have your pick of whether you want to be at that company or you want to go somewhere else. So having those connections, even if you don't stay at that company, is really key. And I'll tell you, a company like Dow, networking, we preach that even when you've been there 30 plus years, networking is key.
Well, thank you so much, Dana. And we're getting close to the end of our time. I have one question. If we have an aerospace engineer or mechanical engineer on the line that would like to answer this one we received in the chat quickly. But this young lady says, I would like to pursue a career in aerospace, but I've been told studying aerospace engineering might limit me and that mechanical engineering is more broad and a safer option. Does anyone have any advice or insight into this? Kate, it looks like you might have a response to this one.
Yeah, so I have a degree in both, and I originally, when I went into undergrad, I wanted to study aerospace engineering, and I heard the same thing, but I kind of ignored it. However, I didn't know that the school I applied to, one of the schools I applied to had mechanical engineering with an aerospace option, so that meant that you could kind of take all the mechanical engineering classes, but focus like in 5 of your classes in aerospace, so that would be a good option. However, I also realized after going through it that mechanical engineering is really good in terms that you can basically work in any industry if you want and market yourself to any industry a lot easier maybe than, I mean, I think aerospace engineers have a place in automotive and all kinds of industries because you could study aerodynamics or anything like that. However, a lot of, not a lot of people, but some people don't see that value that you could add. So that's how a mechanical engineering degree can be beneficial because you can kind of a little easier market yourself to any industry. And then, like I said, you can always work in aerospace with a mechanical engineering degree. So after going through it, I could make a case for either one, but I think personally for me, mechanical engineering would be maybe a better bet and then focus maybe some of your classes in aerospace or an internship or something like that.
Okay, thanks, Kate. And then Irene, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yes, I had both my bachelor's and master's in an aerospace focused area because I reflected on myself. I know myself. Yes, I could be more marketable doing a mechanical engineering degree, but I love aerospace. Yes, I failed all these classes. People are like, no, you're not gonna make it, but I wanted to study it. Look to yourself. What do you want to study? With my mechanical engineering peers at UCSD, we had all these overlapping classes, maybe a difference of 5 specialized courses. What works best for you? What is your college offering, that your prospective college offering in terms of their curriculum? I thought mine was great. It was balanced in the sense that it was heavy on the aeronautical side, but when I went to Embry-Riddle, I did more of the astronautical stuff, and I like the astronautical stuff. That's why I kept my master's in aeronautical, because that's what I love. I just love the aerospace stuff. So find it in yourself. What do I want to study more? If you want a more generalized thing, go for it. I mean, it's just a degree. It's a way to help you understand technical concepts, knowing how to communicate it, and integrate it into a solution to help others. That's what I see. It doesn't matter what discipline of engineering. At the end of the day, you just know how to understand technical stuff, synthesize it.
Thank you so much, Irene. I really appreciate that perspective. And we're coming down to the final minutes. And what I'd like to do now is allow all of our panelists to be able to have some closing remarks. Given everything said, and just knowing that we've got lots of students out there listening who joined to be able to hear your perspective and your advice. So I was just going to call on each panelist that I still see here on the line. And if I don't call you at the end, just go ahead and send me a chat so that I can call on you. But Surash, if you are still on the line, would you mind if there's any closing remarks or any last advice that you have for everyone?
Yeah, for sure. I think just that wherever you want to be, you belong there. I think a lot of times in college, I felt like I didn't necessarily belong in places, whether because of gender or whatever else. But just knowing that you have that interest to be there makes you belong there. So don't feel afraid to take up that space because everyone around you is doing it too, and it's made for you.
Thank you so much. Stephanie?
Okay, so I guess one of my things is I was part of maybe a class of 40 and 7 of us were girls. And my very first year, we were talking to each other, and there's a lot that goes into choosing to be an engineer or do STEM as a girl when you maybe see a lot of other guys, but not a lot of girls. So kind of based on what Sarosh was also saying, if you really want to do it, you know you want to do it, just go for it. No one's going to stop you. You can always stop and change to something else if you decide you want to do something else. Whatever you're doing, if you have an interest in it, it's not forever. You can stop if you decide you don't like it anymore, so just go for it.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I appreciate that. And Lauren Heath, if you're still on, if you have any last advice.
Yeah, I'll kind of play off what Stephanie said is you can always change your mind. I feel like you're going into college and you feel so much pressure about you have to pick the right major because it's going to lead to the right job and you're going to have the right life. And none of it's going to work out the way you have it planned in your head. So kind of relaxing some of that pressure. I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. She came and spoke at NASA a few weeks ago. I think she's awesome. And she has a podcast that she just released out called Unlocking Us is the name of her podcast. But her first episode was on something called FFTs. I'll keep this PG, but it stands for freaking first times. And it's the first time that you do something, it's not usually going to go well. So you're going into something new in college. You might be taking classes that are totally, foreign to you. It's going to be hard. And when you kind of name that you're like, okay, this is the first time I'm doing this. I'm not going to be perfect at it. That's okay. And manage your expectations. I think that really helps. So I guess my advice is follow Brene Brown's advice for everything. That's kind of how I've been operating.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lauren. Jesse, if you're still on, do you have any closing advice or thoughts?
Yeah, so my closing thoughts is that everyone who has been, or I think all the people who've been listening in on this webinar have already made a huge step by joining an FRC team. Enjoy your time on the team. And if you aren't enjoying your time, take that as an opportunity to learn that maybe this isn't what I want to do with my life, and that's totally fine. But while you're on the team, make friends on your team, make friends off your team. These people that you meet at competitions, on your team, wherever you meet them, they can be huge connections that can get you to all sorts of places that you did not expect to be. So that's my best advice, is make friends and enjoy what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Irene, do you have any closing thoughts or advice?
Yes, just wanted to echo back to Casey's question. How do you not give up after failing so many times? Fail is not a bad 4-letter word. It's just a means of saying, that just did not work out. You just need to go find some other way to make sure you're successful. Really, it's grit. It's being resilient. Regardless of what industry, what job you had, you just need to learn how to be resilient, get back off, go, okay, that didn't work that time. That doesn't mean I'm an all-around failure. I just didn't succeed that time. I'll find some other way to succeed. So keep at it. Like I keep telling you guys, find your tribe. So you see all of us here, all of the panelists, we're rah-rah-rahing for you. All your FRC buddies, we're rah-rah-rahing for you. Just know in good conscience, there are people out there to support you, to help complement you, to make sure that you are succeeding.
Thank you so much, Irene. Kate, do you have any closing thoughts or advice?
Yeah, so my favorite piece of advice that I actually got from my dad was I was experiencing imposter syndrome because people kept telling me that I was so smart, and I didn't feel like I was any smarter or as smart as my peers. And I remember saying to him, I don't know why people think I'm so smart. I just work really hard. And he said to me, working hard and being smart is the same thing. And that just reminded me that if you're willing to work hard towards your goals, none of your dreams will ever be out of reach. So just remember that when maybe you're struggling at something and feel like maybe you don't belong there, you do. If you want to be there, you belong there. So.
Thank you so much, Kate. Becca, if you're still on the line, do you have any closing thoughts or advice?
Yeah, I would say based on, I guess, a lot of the questions that I answered, and I'd like to echo the FFT, I like that. You're also going to be, I guess it would be your FFG, first girl on the team, right? So, it's kind of the same concept, right? It might be your first time, it's going to be your first time trying something. And of course it's going to be scary. And of course you're going to feel intimidated. And so are the other people, right? So this is your first time in this group. They don't know you. There a lot of it that might come off as standoffish might just be them being shy. Something that I found works really well is just becoming friends with the people you're with. Getting to know them has made a lot of grumpy old men go from grumpy old men to the most helpful people I've known. So just trying to build that connection with people, right? We're a social species, so That'll help you a lot and will help you feel more comfortable doing the things that you love. So.
Thank you so much, Becca. Dr. Chang, if you're still on, do you have any closing thoughts or advice?
Yeah. So there were a lot of questions about what college life is like, what university life is like. I want to remind people that, you know, college is maybe your next step, but definitely not the last step. And when you get out of college, there are going to be a whole lot of other people that also have engineering degrees that also work really hard for it. So in order to, you know, make sure that you get to the point of reaching your dreams or getting to do what you want to do, is to make sure that you do embrace opportunities for you to, you know, add something extra to your resume or add something to really make sure that you stand out. As far kind of in the themes of some of the things that we're talking about, don't be worried if you're the first person to do it, or don't be worried if you seem like people are grumpy that you're trying to get into their little club. The people who are going to matter to you in the long run are going to see your talent. Don't doubt that you have their talent. It's going to come through once you start doing stuff. You just have to be able to do it. The people who are going to be the ones that support you in the future are the ones who will see it and not wait for some evaluation to write it down. When the opportunity comes up, they'll remember what you did, and you'll be the first name in their head. So you just got to kind of get your way there and just start doing it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Dana, if you're still on, do you have any closing thoughts or advice for the group?
Yeah, I would say, you know, having that support system to help you through, especially when you're the only one that you see in the group, is a plus, right? You could sometimes talk yourself into self-doubt or imposter syndrome or anything like that. So being able to have, you know, like Irene said, your tribe or your cheerleaders or your team that have the same stories, and you can talk through it, and then you can also talk yourself up to say, okay, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to do it together. It's going to really help you even later on down the line. Today, I still have what I call my board of directors, right? My mentors, my sponsors, my peers that help me through, and also as my cheerleaders. Or also, when I'm not in the room, they can also, you know, be there to talk about it or say, yeah, she's the right person for the job. So you need to have that as you get through, especially in the male-dominated field.
Thank you so much, Dana. And if I missed anyone, please just send me a message in the chat. But I just wanted to thank all of our panelists so much for taking time out of your day to be here with all of our participants. We got so many questions on the chat and also in our pre-submitted questions. And so I just want to thank everybody for being here. And it looks like we have one more, some remarks from Lauren B. Sorry if I missed you. So do you have any closing thoughts or advice?
Yeah, I do, Kara. Thank you. There was weave within the questions, there was concerns and experiences about failure and how to succeed even through failure. And one of the pieces of advice that I give when I'm mentoring either high school or college students who are studying engineering is the quality of perseverance. Anything worth having is worth working for. And when you think about it that way, when you encounter challenges trying to earn an engineering degree, you start to think about things differently. So I remember on my first day at Purdue, and this is probably a really harsh thing for them to say, but they said, okay, students, look to your left, look to your right. These people aren't going to be here when you complete this degree. And that was really hard for me to hear, like, oh man, it's going to be really hard to get through this. But the universities, they want their degrees to mean something, so that when companies like NASA come and say, hey, give me all of your mechanical engineers, we want to hire your engineers, that the universities can feel like they're giving, you know, quality students to these companies and to these institutions. They want the degree to mean something, right? If it was easy and they were just handing out engineering degrees right and left, then it wouldn't be worth as much. And so I just want students to feel encourage that it's okay if it's hard. It just means that it's worth more in the end. Another thing is that engineering degrees are about solving problems. There are very few jobs in engineering where you're like pulling your textbook out and you're doing those exact same problems. The institutions, the universities are trying to train you to solve problems and think outside the box, because that's what places like NASA are looking for when they hire engineers. And then the last thing is, as you are a student and you're going through your engineering study and you're being poured into and mentored by women in engineering groups, or through panels like this, or through your mentors in FIRST Robotics, think about how you're going to be able to give back once you become in our shoes. And we really need that, that cycle of giving back and encouraging women to move on throughout their career, because it's really true that there are not that many of us. I work with a lot of men, and so we really need women who will walk alongside us and help lift us up and encourage us.
And thank you so much, Lauren. That was great words to come to an end on. And on that note, and especially since I heard multiple times about finding your tribe, if you go to the Gearbox Girls website, we also have a link to ask to join our Slack workspace. And so if anyone, participants or panelists, are interested in that, please let us know, because we'd like to kind of keep the conversations going throughout the year, really build that tribe and build up some connections, that networking, as many people were talking about. And that's where we can continue answering questions, sharing resources, and really just supporting each other. Also on that note, I did include a link to provide us feedback for this particular event. Especially if you think that this is something you'd like to do again, let us know if there's any room for improvement or what you liked about it. Please give us all that feedback so that we can improve these events in the future. And I did get a message from a student asking about the name of the person talking about the NASA High School Aerospace Scholars Program, and her name is Jessica Cordero. I also included the link that she sent me in the chat as well, so please be sure to check that out. And with that, we're just slightly over time, and I wanted to thank everyone so much again, especially all of our panelists, for taking the time out to be here with us today and share their experiences and advice. And thank you all the participants for being here, because this really shows that you're trying to figure out how you can improve, but also just hear that you're not alone in everything that you're pursuing, either with your FIRST Robotics team or just pursuing STEM education in general. And thank you all so much for being here today. And please reach out to us on gearboxgirls.weebly.com so that we can continue to engage with each other. Thank you so much. And we can go ahead and sign off.
Thanks, everyone.